In this module, we explore how technology can help and support the teaching of reading. We will first hear Professor Carol Chappell introduce the connection between technology and text today. Then, we'll meet a reading expert, Professor Tammy Slater, a professor at Iowa State University. Professor Chappell will ask Professor Slater to talk about why reading is important for students, what teachers should know about reading, and provide some advice for teachers. Finally, we will look at how technology can help.
Let's begin by looking at the connection between technology and text today. Technology provides access to many different materials for students to read. For example, on the Voice of America website, students can access stories about current events. Here is an example of a page from Voice of America, which has news stories that students and teachers can read and discuss. This particular page appeared shortly after the U.S. presidential election a few years ago, and it talks about the biggest picture on the page about President Obama's trip to Europe. But other things that are happening around the world are also reported. As you can see in this example, each of the stories that appears on the Voice of America webpage has written text about the story that students can read and discuss. Because technology provides access to so many different materials for students to read, teachers can select texts from the Internet for their students. We have two more examples of texts from the Internet, and again, these come from the U.S. government website, American English. There are two examples. One is called For Friends, ages 13 and 14, and the second is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. These two examples can be found at the American English website that all teachers and students have access to around the world. On that site, there's a number of resources for teachers. That middle section called Resources is where I found the two example texts. By clicking on Resources, I'd find a lot of choices of things to read. One example is American Teens Talk. This is a collection of readings that's based on interviews of American high school students in both written and audio format. Each interview is accompanied by vocabulary notes and discussion questions, so it's a very useful tool for teaching reading. Here's an example of what one of the interviews looks like from this section of the text, For Friends, ages 13 and 14. The students are pictured there. Those are the four students who are friends, and they're asked questions such as, what have you been doing this week? Why are you making videos? What are you doing in school this week? Students can read about what American students are doing.